I want to
Sure.
start with your interview in The Spectator a couple of weeks ago, in which you called on Australia's Jewish people to vote no in the Voice referendum. You argued
Yes.
in your article that the Voice proposal is contrary to Jewish values, contrary to important lessons from Jewish history, and presents potential serious specific adverse policy risks for our community. How so, David?
Well, and they're really the three main issues that you've nailed. Whether one is religious or not, whether you follow any faith or not, sometimes you can look at our long-standing Judeo-Christian ethics and foundations of Western civilization, and you'll see good wisdom for society. One of the principles is that from a religious point of view, all people are made in the image of God. What does that mean? It means that we should treat all people equally. It means all people should be regarded as equal value in a society. Now, the Voice proposal as it stands conflates a number of issues. It conflates recognition of Aboriginals as being the first people in Australia, and that you can't argue that they were the first people in Australia. It's a matter of fact. But it has built into it a special political leverage, special political access to Parliament and to advise the executive government based on race. And no other racial group or ethnic group in Australia would have that particular mechanism, that particular leverage. So from the principle that all people are equal, which is a foundation of Judaism and I believe also a foundation of Christianity, the Voice is inconsistent. So that's the first issue you mentioned.
Yep.
The second one was the historical lesson.
Yes.
And one thing that the Jewish community can add to the debate is that perhaps more so than any other people, over thousands of years, Jewish communities have lived through societies that have had divisions by race or ethnicity, political divisions from the ancient societies of the Roman Empire, which conquered the Middle East, through to the modern incarnations like the Soviet Union or, of course, the Nazism in the Second World War. People were divided by religion or race or ethnicity. There is not one single historical example where that sort of division has been good for society. Indeed, it always creates resentment at a minimum between the groups, and at worse, it creates major conflict. And then there's the third issue, which is, I guess, specific to the Jewish community or anyone who values Israel as the sole democracy in the Middle East. We've unfortunately seen some of the inner city Aboriginal activists who are quite extreme politically, and hand in hand with that seems to be a hostile attitude to Israel. So in what they called Invasion Day protests on 26 January this year, we have photographs from a couple of those protests where you won't see an Australian flag, you will see an Aboriginal flag, and you'll also see a Palestinian flag. What the hell has Palestine got to do with the 26th of January? Absolutely nothing, except it's being hijacked for political purposes.
Why is the left so enamoured with the Palestinian cause at the moment rather than the Israeli cause?
There was a great leader in the UK who for a while was the chief rabbi of the Commonwealth called Jonathan Sacks. And he described anti-Semitism in a model that everyone will now understand, which is it's like a virus that morphs. It went through a period where the Jewish religion was hated, say during the Inquisition, and Jews were tortured and forced to convert. In the USSR, there was hatred of Jewish culture, and it was suppressed. It was illegal to learn Torah or to have circumcisions. In Nazism, of course, there was hatred of the Jewish race, and the Nazis took a racial approach to trying to eliminate the Jews. And in modern times, it's hatred of the Jewish state. The Jewish community and Israel are very closely identified. So by all means, Israel is not immune from criticism, and you can criticise Israel in the same way as you would criticise any other country.
Sure.
And
the politics in Israel is divided between the more aggressive or assertive stance of the conservatives of the Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party versus, I guess, the other parties that are more left-wing.
Yeah. So the left, and we see this in the left wing of the Labor Party in Australia and in the Greens, they seem to have a particular visceral hatred of the state of Israel, more so than any other country on earth. So they'll ignore human rights abuses around in Israel's neighbours, where LGBTQ, whatever letters you like to add, people, will be thrown off buildings or killed. That can be ignored, but the slightest problem in Israel, they'll jump on with a ton of bricks.
Is this because, Israel is a successful state and it's the traditional role of the left to always side with the underdog? So they look at the Palestinians, they see the Palestinians as poor, as being occupied.
I think it's something deeper than that, Damian, because otherwise you'd have them being more active in, say, calling out all the other persecutions that are around the world, of which there are about 25 at the moment, the largest perhaps being the Uyghurs in China. I think what's going on there is that if you want to undermine Western civilization, Western civilization is founded on Judeo-Christian ethics. Where is the place that the Judeo-Christian ethics began? It's the land of Israel. So, knowingly or unknowingly, Israel is where the foundations of Western civilization occurred first, where humanity started to follow a moral code, initially the Ten Commandments, and then it expanded. And if you want to come up with some other worldview, socialism or communism or whatever cult is common now, undermining the family, undermining gender,
undermining humanity, as we see with the climate cult and the environmental cult. Yeah.
The country that most identifies with those values, or at least where it began, for both Judaism and Christianity, and I say whether you're observant or not is a different issue, but this is where our culture began, and so they're undermining Israel.